Hi everyone and welcome to Squirrel Pie Productions, my podcast about knitting, spinning, and sewing. My name is Tommy and you can find me as Dynamite Trujillo on Ravelry and Instagram. Welcome to episode 39 of my podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it so very much. Welcome to any new viewers. I love that you're checking out my channel. Thank you so much for doing that. And welcome back to any returning viewers. Thanks for being here. Today is a really bright, sunny, but cold Friday morning here on the Northern California coast where I'm coming to you from. And we do have a Ravelry group for this podcast that you should totally go check out and join if you have not yet. It's where you'll find the show notes for this episode and all previous episodes. It's where you'll find giveaway stuff and knit along stuff and all kinds of fun stuff. So go check that out. We do have a knit along running right now. It's the Deep Dark Night Cal. And this is a make-along. Any craft is welcome. Knitting, spinning, sewing. That's all I can think of right now, but anything. And you can pretty much make anything that has to do with any sort of deep, dark night vibe, whatever that might mean to you. And check out the chatter thread for the rules. There's not that many rules. It's pretty loose, loosey-goosey sort of knit along. And there's an FO thread. You guys are making some amazing things. I love following along with those threads. Keep it up. There's a hashtag on Instagram too, so feel free to join in there, and that is Deep Dark Night Cal. I do have a couple of new prizes that have come in this week that I want to show you. I'm super excited about them. They are awesome. Oh my god. Okay. So, the lovely Manda of Dire Bear Yarns donated a skein of yarn to the knit along to give away as a prize. And here it is. It is freaking gorgeous. It's a full skein of sock yarn and a mini skein for the Heels Chosen Cup. And the colorway is Blood on the Ice. And then the mini skein is Heart's Blood. And this is just so perfect. And she also sent me a skein of yarn to keep, and I'm super grateful. Thank you so much, Manda. And this is her Sugar Maple Leaf colorway. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Here is her logo. And there's a little progress keeper that came with my set and with your set. So thank you again, Manda. Blood on the Ice is going to be a giveaway prize for the knit along. The knit along goes through Halloween, so just after October 31st, I'm going to close the FO thread, pull for winners, and we've got so many amazing prizes at this point. I'm so excited to be able to give those away. And the next prize that came in the mail this last week is something that I purchased, and I got one for me and I got one for you. I'm in love with it. So I have spoken about Sparkle Collective on the podcast before a long time ago. And this is the first time I've ever actually purchased from her, and I love her stuff. She makes enamel pins. And check this out, you guys. It's a little cat and it says spooky. This is just like the cutest thing in the whole world. I want to cry. So I fell in love with this. This is like part of some collection that she did recently for autumn or Halloween or something. It was like kind of a bunch of like darker, creepier things, and I just fell in love with this. I follow her on Instagram, and as soon as she updated her shop with this collection, I went and bought 2 of these pins, one for me and one for you. So again, that's her logo up there. So go check out Sparkle Collective if you have not yet. The enamel pins in that shop are just amazing, and I love this little spooky cat. So this one's for you. I believe I'm going to pair this with the Moonstone Dyeworks skein that I will be giving away as a prize as well. So I hope you're joining in on the knit along. If you are, thank you for participating, and I can't wait to see what you make. So we do have another hashtag running right now. It's just a casual thing on Instagram that I decided to start up. It's hashtag Autumn and Sweaters, and that's just where if you want to wear your sweaters out in the world this autumn, get a picture of yourself and post it on Instagram and tag it Autumn and Sweaters so that we can all see what each other is wearing. And I did post an image on Instagram last weekend for Ottoman Sweaters, and I was wearing this sweater, and I went to go see The Little Shop of Horrors, a local production of Little Shop of Horrors. It was so much fun. I love the theater. I love plays. I love musicals. I love going to see live performances. And luckily, the very small area where I live in northern Humboldt County in Northern California, we have a crazy... we have a lot of local theater companies for such a small area. It's really cool. I love it so much. We've got at least 4 theater companies in different theaters around the area that I love going to all the time. I love seeing local plays. And the Ferndale Repertory Theater, which is about a half hour south of me, is my favorite local theater. And they put on Little Shop of Horrors this season, and last weekend we went and saw it, and it was amazing. I love Little Shop of Horrors. Perfect for this time of year. There was an amazing movie made, and I think that was back in the 80s, maybe early 90s, and I loved that movie growing up, and this is the first time I've seen it live, so it was so much fun. And I wore this out to it. This is my Seacoast pullover. It's a pullover by Joji Locatelli, and it's knit out of Stonehenge Fiber Mill in their worsted weight. It has a name, I think. Shepherd's wool. That's what it's called. And this is I think it's woolen spun. It might be worsted spun. I don't know. I can't tell. But it's a non-superwash 100% wool yarn. I'm not sure what type of wool. It might be breed specific, but I can't remember. I love this sweater so much. This is one of my very favorite garments I've ever made. It's a little longer, which I love. It's the perfect length. And it's got this really beautiful slip stitch yoke pattern that I just love. It's got a boat neck, which I love. Obviously, you can see some strappage poking out here, which isn't the classiest, but most of the time I don't care. If I do care, like if I'm wearing this to work, what I do, just in case it's a tip that happens to help anybody, is I will take a little safety pin and actually safety pin underneath my bra strap to the inside of the sweater right here. I know they make like clips or something for that kind of thing, and I've looked into them before, but I feel like the ones that I have found have mostly just been safety pins with like little comfort things on them too. So I just use safety pins. But right now I don't care, because I'm hanging out with you guys, my friends, and I'm comfortable with a little strappage with you guys. Anyway, I love the sweater a lot. I really, really do. It's super warm. So that's what I'm wearing today. On to FOs. I have an FO. I'm stoked to be done with this thing. So I finished my spousal hat. Here it is. This is a hat that I knit for my husband out of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, and that's Brooklyn Tweed's worsted weight woolen spun 100% wool yarn. I think it's Targhee Columbia wool, and I'm pretty sure that means that it qualifies for the blend along being hosted by Tessa of the Interim Knits podcast, which she just put out an episode recently after kind of a long break. And I was super excited about that. So if you're interested, she's running a knit along called the Blend Along. I think it's a make along, I don't know. But where you use different fibers together in one project. So this is my Blend Along project. And like I said, this is a hat that I knit for my husband. And I didn't follow a pattern. I actually knit it a couple of times, as I talked about in my last episode. So it's 2x2 rib all the way up. What I did is I cast on 84 stitches, and this was knit on a size 6 needle. So it's 84 stitches around, 2x2 ribbing all the way up. And then for the crown decreases, what I did is I split my stitch count by 4 and decreased 2 stitches per section every other round until I got to a certain point, and then I started decreasing every round. And what I'm going to do is, since I just I didn't follow a pattern. I winged it through the whole thing. I'm going to write up what I did, all the specifics of what I did, how I decreased, everything I did in a project page on Ravelry. I haven't done it yet. Hopefully I've done it by the time this goes live. So if you're interested, you can go take a look. But I haven't done it yet. But pretty much it was a size 6 needle with this worsted weight yarn, 84 stitches, and a pretty shallow crown decrease. And it worked out great. It fits in perfectly. And it's just a beanie. I mean, it's a pretty tight fitting beanie that flips up. Hello. Both me and my husband have pretty small heads. So that's what it looks like. I love it, and he loves it too. This is exactly what he wanted. And I had purchased 2 skeins of this shelter to make this hat, and I only used 1. And actually, this is the leftover yarn that I have, and that's all I have left from the 1 skein that I used for this hat. And the reason why it's in 3 different little balls is because I reknit this thing 3 times. And this was the leftover I had from each time I knit it. Every time I knit it, it used less and less yarn. So originally I had knit most of the whole thing on a size 7. It was too loose, it was too big, so I went down to I ripped it out, went down to a size 6, and it's perfect. I finally got the crown decreases right. The first 2 crown decreases that I tried were where I split, instead of splitting the stitch count in 4, I split it in, I think, 7 and 8, or maybe 6 and 7, to have smaller wedges. And I'm much, much happier with this decrease. I feel like it looks a lot better in the 2x2 rib. Those other decreases where you split your stitch count in 6 or 7 wedges and spiral up, I think looks better in a stockinette beanie. 2x2 though, I think it looks really good. I'm gonna see if I can show you the back of it without like getting all weird here. I don't know, see how it works. I just realized my shawl's not on my chair. Oh yeah. So it's getting really cold, and my cat is really old, and she gets really cold, and she's got this little footstool that she sleeps on. It's kind of like her bed. And I've got like this, like, I don't know, probably cheap acrylic blanket that I got for free somewhere on it, and that's what she sleeps on. But that doesn't keep her warm. So I put the shawl that used to live on the back of my chair on her little bed. So, because it's wool, it's really warm. Anyway, that's why my shawl's gone. So, let's see. And that's why I keep it there, because my chair's janky. So that's what it looks like. I don't know if you can see it. But I like it a lot. And I have a whole nother skein left. So I thought about making myself just another hat out of it because I really like it. But I don't want to match him. I don't want to have a matching hat as my husband. We're not that couple. So we'll see. We'll see what I do with it. It's also not really my color. I mean, I think it looks fine. I think green with red hair looks good, but it's not my preference. I'm a pink girl. I'm not an army green girl. I feel like this is pretty army green. But anyway, that's my FO. I'm super happy that it's done, and I can't wait to give it to him. I have not let him wear it yet because I wanted to show it on the podcast undisturbed by his wearage. So, moving on to works in progress. I cast on a new pair of socks. I have been working on his socks for a while now, which I'll show you later. But I got sick of that. I wanted to knit a pair of socks for myself. So I cast on these sweet babies. So this is Lollipop yarn in the Whiskey Bent and Hellbound colorway, which I am obsessed with. I love the name. I love the colorway name. I love whiskey a lot. I'm a bourbon girl. I have a huge, deep love for bourbon. So to have a colorway named after whiskey just like melts my heart. And while I haven't been this way in quite a while, historically throughout my life, my favorite color is brown. My favorite color isn't really brown anymore. I think it's pink now. But brown has like always been my favorite color. I love these brown shades that kind of look like 70s couches and sheets, you know? I love that aesthetic. So this is such a good colorway for me. I love it so much. Here is the ball. And I first purchased this yarn years ago. Lollipop Yarns is an Etsy seller. She does self-striping yarns. And she is one of those self-striping yarn dyers where her yarn is really hard to get. She does infrequent updates. I think like once a month she does an Etsy update, and her yarn sells out within a minute. Like, no joke. It's one of those where, like, you know, the inevitable cart jacking is a thing because everybody's trying to buy the same thing at the same time. And I have been able to purchase 3 skeins of her yarn over the years. I haven't tried in a while, but she does beautiful self-striping colorways. She's got a Ravelry group where she posts most of her information. So if you're interested, that's where I would recommend checking out, is her Ravelry group. That's the best place to look for her updates and stuff. But I was stoked when I got this colorway. When she announced that she was dyeing this, I just like fell in love. I needed it and I got it. And this was several years ago. I knit a pair of socks from this yarn as soon as I got it. And it was when I was still Squirrel Pies. I knit the socks out of this yarn when I first got it, when I was still kind of perfecting my sock recipe for myself, and they ended up being really tight and didn't fit that well. So I frogged them eventually because I never wore them because they didn't fit that good. And these are the skeins from my original socks. But I still had all of this left over, so this is what I'm knitting the renewed Whiskey Bent and Hellbound socks out of. So we'll see if I break into these or not. I'm not sure. I might knit a pair of mitts to go along with the socks out of the leftovers. We'll see. But this yarn is really thin, and my original socks were 56 stitches, which is still what I do. And I think it's called a gusset heel. It's a Wendy Johnson heel pattern that I used a few times when I first started knitting socks. And I'm not in love with it, so I've stopped using it. It's a fun heel to do, and I'm sure it fits a lot. I know it fits a lot of people. It doesn't fit me that well, though. So these socks were 56 stitches with that heel. And this yarn is a lot thinner than your standard sock yarn. It's really, I mean, I know this doesn't really give you any kind of gauge, but it's a really thin sock yarn. So 56 stitches on my normal needles. With this yarn, it was just too small. And that heel is kind of shallow, so the whole thing was just super tight. So I am reknitting these socks on, okay, this is what I decided to do. I don't know. It's what I decided, and we're going to see if it works. I'm going down in needle size and up in stitch count. So instead of my normal 0 for the cuff and 1 for the rest of the sock, I'm doing double 0 for the cuff and 0 for the rest of the sock, and I'm going up to a 60 stitch count. So I'm increasing 4 stitches than what I normally do. And I've tried it on and it fits pretty good so far. We'll see. It's an experiment. If I keep going and it feels tight, I'm okay with just ripping it all out. And I'm thinking, if this is too tight still, keeping the needle size and going up to a 64. So we'll see. I don't know. But I really love these. I'm so happy I picked this yarn back up again because I just love this colorway so freaking much, and it's so perfect for this time of year. I love it. And I'm using my carbons. This is my size 0s magic loop. The only size double 0s that I have are double points. So these are my double 0 double points. They're also carbons, which is a Knitter's Pride or a Knit Pro needle. And I love these, but I don't love knitting with double pointed needles. I really don't. It's like not even, it's not my preference at all. So it's just for the cuff. I did not love knitting the cuff just because it was double points, but I got through it. I'm fine. And I just have to do it one more time for the second sock. Now, this original ball of yarn came with a mini ball of the brown for heels, cuffs, and toes. And I didn't use it all, but I don't think I'm going to have enough for heels, cuffs, and toes for 2 more socks. The original brown that I ripped out got destroyed. I just like, I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but I'm pretty sure I remember it like me having to cut it because it like wasn't ripping out well. I don't know. But this is what I have left. And I'll definitely do the heels and I might do the toes too. I don't know. We'll have to see how much I use. So this was a gobstopper ball. And it looks pretty messy now, but that's because I've gotten to the inside. The way Lollipop Yarns winds her balls, her gobstoppers, is she does it just kind of randomly in here. It's not messy, and like there's no tangles or anything. It's just not all pretty like the outside is. So she winds it like this until you get to a certain point, and then it starts to get that whole pretty gobstopperness happening. And so that's why it looks like this instead of all pretty. But I love this yarn. It's great to work with. It's, like I said, it's super thin, but it feels really nice once it's knit up. I love her yarns. So these are my Whiskey Bit and Hellbound socks. I am super happy to be working on a pair of socks for myself out of yarn that I love, because the next pair of socks that I've been working on are still my spousal socks, and that is with yarn that I'm kind of over working with. It's not bad, I'm just over it. It was boring. So these are my spousal socks. These are socks for my husband, and they are being knit out of Knit Picks Stroll Tweed in the Flagstone Heather colorway. So I'm knitting these 2 at a time concurrently, so 2 separate needles, but kind of following along with each other. This is where I'm at on the first sock. I have finished the heel flap and gusset, and I actually don't think I've touched this one since the last episode, but they're being knit on size 1 needles. I've got both of these on Hayahayas. This is what I have left of the first ball, and the second one I measured it on his foot last night, and I use my finger to measure sometimes because if I don't have a tape measure around, I'm too lazy to get up and find one, but I am that much away from starting the toe. So here's the one that I have mostly done, and they're getting there. They're just taking a long time. But what I did for these is a 0 for the cuff and a 1 for the rest of the sock. I cast on 70 stitches for one sock, 72 stitches for another sock for the second sock. Did a 2x2 rib for the cuff, and I'm doing this little tiny rib section all the way up both socks just for a little bit of added stretchability, and also it differentiates the left sock from the right sock because they're 2 different stitch counts because he has one foot that is bigger than the other foot. So that's what I gotta say about these socks. That is it. They are just moving along. They're happening. I'm getting through them. Yes. I'm going to finish those soon. So soon. Yeah. Okay, next up are my Yggdrasil mitts. I love these so much. These are... You want to come up here, kitty? No? You want me to go play with you somewhere else? I'm being boring right now. Oh, poor little kitty. So these are living in my new Nightmare Before Christmas bag, which a beautiful, lovely, kind, and generous viewer made for me. She also made another project bag for you as a giveaway prize for the knit along. I've got a pink pom-pom on here, because why not? And I've got my little spooky cat pin on here, and I love it. So these mitts have been so fun to work on. I have just been loving them so much. I did rip them back and restart them. But first let me tell you a little bit about the pattern in the yarn, and then I'll talk about that. So the pattern is by Ellie of Skein Knits, and it's the Yggdrasil mitts, and I love them. It's fingerless mitts, colorwork, they're beautiful. The pattern is awesome. The yarn that I'm using is some Knit Picks palette, and this is the Peony colorway, this is the Seafaring colorway, and this is the Serpentine colorway. And I'm really enjoying the yarn so far. This is one of my first times using Knit Picks palette. I've used it once before when I very first started like knitting with a capital K, and I made like a little shawlette out of it, and I gave it to somebody as a gift. So that was a long time ago. This is my first time knitting with it since then, and I really, really enjoy it. I like it. So, man, I kind of moved my setup back a little bit. I used to like sit farther forward from my desk, and in that spot that I used to sit, I had my couch right next to me where I would put all my stuff on, but I've moved back, and now there's nothing next to me, so I don't know where to put stuff. Anyway, a little behind the scenes. Put it over there. Okay, so here are the mitts so far. And they are working up just gorgeously. I've got my little star progress keeper on here. And that's the tree that's emerging on the back of the hand of the mitt. And then I've gotten to the point where I've separated for the thumb hole. That's my thumb gusset right there, which is a super interesting construction that I've never done before on mitts or mittens, and I loved it. And then I've got this here. I'll be putting in a thumb later, and I love these so much. Colorwork is so much fun, you guys. I'm just having so much fun with it. So, like I said, I did rip out my original mitt and start over, kind of, not completely. But the reason for that is because I was knitting at a crazy tight gauge. And the way that this pattern is sized is with gauge. So all of the sizes are knit using fingering weight yarn. And to knit a smaller size, you use a smaller needle. To knit bigger sizes, you use a bigger needle. And you're supposed to swatch to find out what size needle to use. And I did not swatch because I am that person who does not swatch for some things sometimes. And I started out using a 0 for the cuff and a 1 for the rest of the mitt for the color work. And I was getting an extra, I think, like 4 stitches per 4 inches. So I think an extra stitch per inch on the gauge than I was supposed to get for the smallest size, which is what I was going for. Because I have a really small hand. The smallest size is for a teen, and I think my hand measurement is even a little bit smaller than that teen hand measurement size. So I was going for the smallest size. So I just started off with a really small size needle, and my gauge was crazy, crazy small. So I ripped back the color work. And the thing is that width-wise, it was fine. Like, it fit my hand around, but going to such a small gauge, like way smaller than the pattern intended, made the thumb gusset way too small. So the thumb gusset, like, it's supposed to be this length, it was like this length. It was tiny. Also, that kind of really tight gauge that I was working on made the knitting kind of not relaxing. You know, the gauge was so small and so tight that I was like knitting with like, I was like knitting stress into it. Like, not, I don't know. It was just really tight, so it was really hard to knit on, and it wasn't that fun. And I realized when I got to the end of the thumb, and the thumb was so small, I was just like, this is just too... I went overboard. I knew I was knitting at a smaller gauge than the pattern recommended, but I just went overboard. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go up to 1.5 and see what that's like. So I ripped out all the color work, and I started over with a 1.5 just from here. I left the ribbing on a size 0 because that fits great. And originally I had added a little bit of length to this section here, and I had added a second little stripe in this serpentine color. And I didn't do that the second time. The second time all I did was added a few extra rows of the main color here. And I did that on the same size needle as the ribbing. And then once I got to the color work, I went up to the 1.5. And now I'm getting, I want to say exact gauge to the smallest size in the pattern, but I haven't blocked it yet, so I don't really know. Unblocked, I'm getting the correct gauge, which I know isn't totally right, but whatever. So since I did that, it still fits great. It still fits nice and snug, which I'm super excited about. The thumb gusset is great now. It fits good. It fits like it should and not like teeny tiny. And the knitting itself is so much more enjoyable now that I've gone up a needle size. That super tight gauge just wasn't that fun. But now that I'm knitting on the proper gauge, like it recommends in the pattern, I'm having way more fun with it. I love working on these, and they fit awesome. I'm just, you know, sometimes I like get overly like, I'm so small, I need to knit everything tiny. I just do it too small sometimes, like my original socks. Anyway, they still fit really great. They're nice and snug, and I really like it. And the thumb is perfect. So I'm really, really loving these. Ellie, you wrote a beautiful pattern, and I'm learning about color work because, like I've said before, I love color work, but I haven't done it in a pretty long time. And something that was totally new to me was casting on in color work. I didn't even know that was a thing. And that's what you have to do, because you put your thumb stitches on a holder and then you cast on that same number for the top of the thumb hole, and you cast on in color work. And I just kind of like made it up, and I'm pretty sure I did it right. It looks right to me, and I think it's really, really super cool. I was like pretty proud of myself when I did that, because that was a totally new thing to me. It's a small thing, but it was new and it was fun. So these 1.5s are also carbons, and they work great for this. I'm having so much fun knitting these, especially now that I've gone up to a reasonable, normal person gauge. And I love them. They're going by super fast too, especially now that I've gone up in needle size. So I'm almost done with the first mitt. I've got just a little bit more of the chart left and then some ribbing at the top. And then I can do the second one, and then I can do the thumbs, and I'll have mitts. Oh, I'm so excited. I love them. So that is my Yggdrasil mitts, and they're crazy fun. I love them. So, what's next? What's next on the docket? We've got my Marled magic shawl. It's cold today, so I'm keeping the hat on. I like it. I might just steal this from him. No, he really would want this hat. So my Marled magic shawl is living in my Ghastly's project bag that I made for myself. And there's our unicorn on it, because why not? So this puppy is so close to being done. I have finished section 6, which means I have a decision to make. You guys, I am the worst at making decisions. I'm not a stressed out kind of person, but if there's anything that stresses me out, it's having to make decisions. So, this is what this sweet baby looks like right now. Isn't it incredible? I love it so much. I love it. So at this point in the shawl, I can either bind off. You do an I-cord bind off around the whole thing. Or I can do 2 more sections. And if I did 2 more sections, they would be along the bottom. They would meet at this point right here in the middle. And they would essentially add a teeny bit of depth, but not much. And a little bit of length, which is what I would want. I don't like really deep shawls, but I like really long shawls. I really like to have a lot of length this way to play with, wrapping around. And my favorite way of wearing a shawl is folding it in half, putting the whole thing here, and then pulling the loose ends through the hole that you folded in half. And I need length to be able to do that. So I know this thing's already really big, but I've like tried wearing it like that, and it's kind of too short to do that. It's like just a little over my wingspan. I don't know what I'm trying to show you here, but I need a shawl that's like considerably past my wingspan to be able to do that. And I know this will block out bigger, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I should do the extra sections or not. I kind of don't want any more depth because it's already really deep. But it doesn't add much more depth to the deepest part, doing those extra sections. So I have not decided. I don't know if do you think I should make it bigger? What do you think? Tell me what to do. I need somebody to tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. It would also be really nice just to kind of have it done and be able to wear it, but those extra sections don't seem like that much knitting. So, I don't know. I'm probably going to do the extra sections, but I don't know yet. I'll decide tomorrow. Anyway, so the last section that I worked on was section 6, and that is this section here, and I had so much fun doing it. I held 2 yarns together most of the whole way through. This one is a lace weight. It is some Rowan fine lace, and it's in this really beautiful lavender color. I've got several more balls of this yarn, and I've never known what to do with it really. It's gorgeous. It's alpaca. It's baby alpaca and merino, and it's just so pretty. It's got this beautiful fluffy halo, and it's just the best color. So I used some of it in the shawl because I wanted to use it because I love it. I just don't know what to do with it because it's lace weight, and I don't know. And the other one I used is a Moonstone Dye Works, which is my hand-dyed yarn company, skein of All the Boys. And this is what I have left of that. And this is just a speckled neon and black yarn. And I think that section turned out really, really pretty. I like it a lot. And I've got a lot of holders on here and a lot of yarn hanging off. I just love it so much. I'm so into this. And this is being knit for the Jinx Vine Knit Along 2017, where Laura from Jinx and Kristen from Vine are doing knit along for the Marled Magic Shawl. And I'm really happy they are because that's why I knit this, and I love it. What I love about the Stephen West shawls that I've knit so far is that they're made up of different sections, different components. So you can be knitting on one giant shawl that might take forever, but every once in a throughout the whole shawl you're switching what you do. So it feels like you're knitting monogamously or whatever. And it feels like you're not, because you're doing something completely different throughout the whole entire thing. Just, I love the sectioned up style of shawl pattern writing. I'm so drawn to it. I love it. And I love shawls too that are like consistent through the whole thing. I love wearing them. I love how they look. I've got a lot of shawls like that. But I've learned about myself that I stay interested a lot more when I knit a shawl with different components throughout the whole thing. I love that. And this is like the epitome of that. I love it so much. So this is my Marled Magic. We are in limbo right now because we're deciding what to do. And I have major FOMO. I always have fear of missing out on the decision that I didn't make. Until I actually do it. Because then, you know what? I'll make a decision, I'll do it, and if I love it, I love it, and I forget about the other thing that I could have done. And if I don't love it, I'll just rip it back and do the thing that I didn't do. There you go. I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be fine. So that's my Marled Magic. I love it so much. My last project is a new cast on, and this is living in my Fat Squirrel fiber project bag. This is a scarf. I haven't knit a scarf in a long time. Have you? I don't know. Have you knit a scarf in a while? I'm sure a lot of people knit scarves, but I haven't knit a scarf in a really long time. And I am making up a pattern. It's like super simple. But I've had these 4 yarns. they're all like an Aran weight, and I've had all 4 of them caked up for so long. And I've wanted to use them because I've caked them all up for one reason or another, and they've just been sitting around in like my scrap stash caked up and not being used. And I was like, I just need to figure out something to use these yarns. So here they are. Now my original intention was color work. I really wanted to knit some like bulkier color work. So I went on Ravelry and I looked and I looked and I looked and I searched and I searched and I searched and I couldn't find anything I wanted to do. So eventually I decided that what I'm going to do with these yarns is I'm going to knit a scarf in the round. So it'll be like double layer. It'll be like a long tube that you don't Kitchener, you know, at the end. I'm going to knit a long scarf in the round, chevron, and then I'm going to put, what are they called? Fringe. I'm going to put fringe at both ends. So I feel like this is going to be like a thrift store scarf. Like when you go to a thrift store and you look through the scarf section, I feel like that's what you find. Are crazy long loose gauge scarves with different colors with fringe at the end. So this is going to be my thrift store scarf. And I will tell you what I am using. So this is some soft Studio Donegal, soft Donegal. And this is some Irish yarn. It's woolen spun, beautiful, beautiful tweed yarn. And it's in this absolutely gorgeous lavender color. And the tweed flecks are like peach and seafoam and white and darker purple. I love this yarn. It's gorgeous. So I have nowhere to put it because I'm in a different setup now. This is, okay. So these 2 yarns are really, really gorgeous, natural, custom mill spun yarns that were gifted to me a long time ago in a swap package through Fiber Share that I did like a year or 2 ago. And these are from some sheep that were from a local farm to my swap partner. She bought the fleeces and had them custom spun at a mill local to her. And I've just been cherishing these yarns for so long, and I've wanted to use them so bad. And I'm finally using them, and I'm super happy. So the dark brown is CVM and Cormo, and the light brown is Corriedale. Corriedale. So these are absolutely gorgeous, and I'm so excited to be using them. And then this one is some Imperial yarns. And I love Imperial yarns. They are a farm and I think a mill. I think they mill their own yarn in Oregon. And they're an amazing company. I love their yarn. It's all very rustic. This is woolen spun. This is all like an Aran weight. And this is, I don't know what base it is, but I put it on the screen. And it's just lovely teal color. None of these have colorway names or anything, but this is my color palette for this scarf, and I'll show you what I have so far. So I'm kind of just getting started on this. I did a lot of ripping back on this so far because I was experimenting because I'm making it up. So here we go. And I'm still not completely convinced that this is exactly what I want, so there could be some more ripping out and reknitting until I actually really get it right. I'm a little skeptical at this point, but the yarn's knitting up beautifully. I've started off with the Imperial yarns, and I am using a size 9 Knit Picks interchangeable needle. And what I did is I cast on 70 stitches. I should write stuff like this down. I think it was 70 or 72 stitches. And I'm just doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Is it 5? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 repeats of a basic chevron pattern where I'm doing a double center decrease for the decreases, and I'm just doing yarn over for the increases. And I'm just going along, and my plan is to kind of color block it. So I'm just gonna knit in this teal color for as long as I feel like it. And then for a little section, I'll stripe it with the next color, which will be this one. So I'm going to knit with this for a while and then stripe it with this, and then knit with this for a while and stripe it with this, and then knit with this for a while and then stripe it with this, and then I'll end on this. So that's my plan. We'll see how it works out. I don't know. It's just in my head right now. So I'm going to knit on it, and if I hate it, I will rip it out. If I love it, then yay. And I have to remember to save some yarn for fringe. That just occurred to me. I have to remember to not use the whole cake and save some of it for fringe. So I'm super excited about that. What I have in my head is just like one of those long, loose gauge, fringy thrift store scarves. So yeah. And I really like a good scarf. You know, when it gets cold, I kind of want something like really thick and cozy and long that I can just wrap around and around and around. So we'll see. I think my biggest reservation for this right now is that I might wish it was a little wider. I don't know. I'm not big on skinny scarves. I like things that are really wide. So, and it is double layer because I'm doing it, I cast on in the round, and I'm just, like I said, I'm going to knit a long tube, and then I'm going to attach fringe, and that'll be it. So it'll be double thickness, it'll be super warm, and this is all Aran White yarn, so I'm excited. We'll see how it goes. So that's that. That's everything I've been working on. That's my chevron thrift store scarf. And I will create a pattern page for that eventually and just note everything I did. So if you want to make one, you can refer to that and cast one on for yourself. But pretty much all I did is chevron in the round. And knit and knit and knit. Okay, that's it for what I've been working on. Next, I'm going to tell you about my shop update that will be happening tomorrow. So tomorrow, oh, by the way, today's Friday the 13th. Tomorrow is Saturday the 14th of October, and I will be having a shop update at moonstonedyeworks.com or at the Etsy shop, Moonstone Dye Works. It leads you to the same place. And that's going to be happening at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And what I'm going to do, okay, so if you've been following the news, here in California, there are some really awful and devastating fires that are happening through Santa Rosa and the surrounding areas. So Santa Rosa is about 4.5 hours south of where I am. So I am fine. I am in Northern California, but that Northern California is a lot south of where I am. So it's not affecting me or my home or my family, but it is affecting a lot of people down there. These fires are just awful. They've destroyed whole parts of the city, whole neighborhoods. Yeah. Anyway, so what I'm going to do in my shop update tomorrow is donate 20% of all of my sales from tomorrow to the United Way of the Wine Country Relief Fund. Now, the United Way is this organization, they're a global organization, I think, that helps promote health and education in places. And there's one for that area, and it's the United Way of the Wine Country, and they're getting together a relief fund for Santa Rosa and the victims of the fire. So I'm going to be donating 20% of all of my sales to that fund tomorrow. And I'll link to the fund itself in the show notes if you're interested in checking it out or interested in where this money is going to be going. And yeah, so I just wanted to say that that's what's going to be happening tomorrow. And in case, I did get some messages from some super kind viewers asking if I was okay because I'm in Northern California and the fires are happening in Northern California. But I'm fine. My area is fine, but there's some areas that are not fine. So anyway, I will show you the yarn that's going to be in the shop update tomorrow. It is right here. I have been working on some new colorways, and the first one that I have is, I love this so much. It's called Stone Cold Manners. And this is a Court of Thorns and Roses reference. It's a very minor reference, but when I heard it in the audiobook that I'm listening to, I fell in love with the phrase Stone Cold Manners. And it's from A Court of Mist of Fury, and it was describing one of the character names who I have forgotten because I haven't read the book in a couple weeks. That's how bad I am. Anyway, this is Stone Cold Manners, and I love it. It's like a grayish purple with some teal and magenta, and I love it so, so much. So this is it on my BFL sock base. This is it on Stellina sock. And this is it on Natural Merino. And something about Natural Merino that I may or may not have mentioned before is that it takes colors a lot differently than the superwash yarns. These are both superwash, and this is non-superwash. So I'll do many of my colorways on this base that I do on these bases, and they come out much more muted. It doesn't really speckle in the same way that these do, so it comes out more of a tonal version of my normal colorway. But this is Stone Cold Manners, and I love it. This one is El Mirage, and this is an old colorway. It's blowing out. This is an old colorway that I dyed when I first started up Moonstone Dye Works, and I haven't dyed it since, but it's fall now, and I think it's perfect, and I love it. So this is mustard yellows with like a conifer green and some like brownish purples. It's very autumny and very deserty, and I love it. So this is going to be available on BFL sock and Stellina sock. And then I have got, okay, let's see if I can remember this colorway. This color is inspired by Dracula, which I'm reading now, and a really specific passage. When I read this passage in Dracula, I stopped what I was doing, wrote it down, and I was like, this has to be a colorway. So it's called Prelude to the Great Storm, and that is what it looks like. And I love it. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So this is Prelude to the Great Storm on Stellina sock. This is it on BFL sock. And this is it on Natural Merino. Took color much differently than the superwash yarns. Beautiful though. So I am really, really stoked on this colorway. Again, I think it's really autumnal, and pretty much what the Prelude to the Great Storm is a description of the storm that happens when Dracula's boat enters the bay, I think, or the port, I don't know, wherever boats go, at Whitby Abbey in the book. And it was a really cool description. So I've got this colorway based on that. In case you're curious as to the passage, I am going to put a post on Instagram with some good pictures of this yarn with the whole passage written out because it's so good. It's so good. So Prelude to the Great Storm. These are all going to be available in the Moonstone Dye Works Etsy shop tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific time. That is Saturday, the 14th of October. And like I said, all 20% of all sales for all day tomorrow, Saturday the 14th, are going to be donated to the United Way of the Wine Country Relief Fund. That's a long name. So check it out if you're interested, and you can find it at www.moonstonedyeworks.com, or if you just go straight to Etsy, you can find the Moonstone Dye Works shop there. So thanks for checking that out. If you do, I appreciate it as always. And I think that's where I'm going to leave you guys for today. I don't really have any favorites. I was going to talk about Little Shop of Horrors and my favorites, but I already talked about that, so. I loved it. It was great. And I love theater. I love local theater. I have seen, okay, I guess I am talking about it. I have seen one, like, major theater production in my life, and it was incredible. It was Am I going to forget what it's called now? Pressure, the pressure. Les Miserables. I saw Les Miserables at a theater in San Francisco. It was the Orpheum, I think. And it was like a big production thing. I had never seen anything like it. It was crazy and awesome and amazing. And I was really far away. And it was a brand new experience for me because I have a long history of loving theater, but I've always only ever been to local theater because that's what's accessible to me. And our local theater companies here are amazing. I am so lucky to live in such a small place with, like I said, so many theater companies, and they're all so good. And they all do such a variety of theater. Every single year, every single season, I get to go see musicals, comedy, really serious plays. I see a lot of plays that are really well known, but I also see a lot of plays that are plays that I've never heard of, and they're amazing. I also see a lot of plays that are like productions of playwrights from like the early 1900s and like the 1800s even. And they're plays that I've either read before or I've at least heard of, and I've just never seen in real life. I've seen Cole Porter musicals. I mean, my local theater is awesome. I love it so much. And I'm always excited to see the new season that comes out. Hedwig and the Angry Inch is playing pretty soon. I'm so excited about that. I love Hedwig and the Angry Inch. I've only ever seen the movie. I didn't even know it was a play. So I'm really stoked about that. I've seen Cabaret. I've seen Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mean, I could name all the ones that I've seen, and it would be a crazy long list, so I'm not going to. But I guess I just wanted to rant a little bit about how much I love my local theater companies. If you have local theater to you, if there's a college nearby, there's probably a theater department. Check it out if you're interested. You don't have to live in like a big city to see really good theater. Anyway, okay, I'm going to leave you there. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you are safe. I know that some of my viewers also live in California and probably down in the area of Santa Rosa. So if that's the case, or if you know people who live there, have friends and family there, I'm thinking about them and you, and I hope everybody is okay. Also, I know Rhinebeck's coming up. I just keep babbling now. Oh my gosh. But Rhinebeck's coming up. I've never been to Rhinebeck. I will not be going because I've never even been over on that side of the country. Well, I've been kind of on that side of the country. I've never been to New York, unfortunately. It's one of my like dream destinations that I want to go to New York. But I've never been to Rhinebeck. It's really far away. It's like crazy expensive to get there from where I am. So maybe someday I'll go. If you're going, I hope you have a great time. I'm super happy for you. I think the idea of Rhinebeck is just like awesome to me. I wish I could go. I will go someday, right? It's gonna happen someday. But if you're going, I hope you have a great time, and I hope you guys have a great week. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're safe. I hope everything is nitty and wonderful. I hope you're keeping warm or cool, depending on what the weather is like where you are. Join the Knit Along, Deep Dark Night Knit Along. Join the hashtag on Instagram, Autumn and Sweaters, and have fun and stay awesome. Bye, guys.